This is the second in the series of lectures on silk. In this lecture, we will be looking at chapters 1 to 5 of the novel. A quick summary of the chapters 1 to 3. At the beginning of the novel, we are told that Hervé Joncourt buys and sells silkworms, that is his trade or his profession. We are also given a slight background into Joncourt and the fact that Joncourt's father wanted him to be a military personnel so that he could become a complete man. The story opens in 1861, and in the first chapter itself, the author gives a lot of historical facts from that time. In that year, Flaubert is writing Salammbô, Abraham Lincoln is fighting a civil war across the sea, and at the same time, we also have Joncourt, who is 32 years old in a French town. Along with this, in the first three chapters, we also see a very detailed description of the silkworm trade as well as the entire process of creating silk. A person can hold up to 1,000 silkworms in their hand. Silkworm eggs hatch at the beginning of the May, and the larvae are set free to eat through the mulberry leaves and form cocoon. At the end of 2 weeks, they break out, and then the entire cocoon produces nearly 1,000 meters of silk raw thread, which is considered very, very precious because they sell at a very high rate in the market. Joncourt lives in southern France in a village called Lavilledieu with his wife, and he has no children even at the age of 32. In 1862, there is an epidemic in the hatcheries all over France, including Lavilledieu, and Joncourt goes beyond the Mediterranean, where he generally used to buy the silkworms from, to now Syria and Egypt to find more eggs, or rather healthier eggs for the silk traders in France or in Lavilledieu. So in January, he travels 16,000 miles by sea and 800 miles overland to negotiate and buy and return in April with eggs. Upon his return, Joncourt works for 2 more weeks to prepare the eggs for sale, and after he has sold it, he generally rests for the rest of the year and does not do any other work. Now let's analyze the first three chapters of the novel. The first three chapters introduces the historical setting of the novel, the rise of imperialism, as well as other literary and historical facts like the Civil War and the famous novels being written during that age. It also explains the central symbol of the novel itself, which is silk, through a detailed description of the production of silk and the entire process that is involved in it. The main character, Hervé Joncourt, is also introduced to us in the first three chapters, and through his background, we are again given a foregrounding to what could be the main themes of the novel, which includes infidelities, because he travels almost 3 months of the year and he's away from his wife. Both of them have a very high opportunity for taking advantage of that situation and indulging in infidelity. Though nothing of that sort is indicated, especially in relationship to his wife Helen, but it does color our reading of the novel because it has been mentioned in the beginning of the novel itself. The action in the novel is located chronologically with reference with the references built into the first chapter. Gustave Flaubert is famous in modern times for his novel Madame Bovary, which is a novel on infidelity. Salammbô, which is the novel that he was writing that year, is a historical novel about Punic Wars, which were based on the theft of a sacred veil from a religious shrine and how death came to whoever touched it. Similarly, throughout the novel Silk, we find constant references to silks, veils, which in turn are symbolically representative of the hidden desires of human beings. There is also a reference or a touching upon of the fact that there is a civil war happening across the sea in America. Similarly, later on in the novel, there will be a civil war far away which does not directly affect France but will affect the lives of the people of Level Do. Now let's take a look at the next two chapters, 4 to 5. People ask Joncourt what Africa is like, and he responds in one word: tired. Joncourt lives in a large house outside of town, so he's very well off, and opposite a deserted house which was once owned by Jenna Burbeck. Burbeck one fine day decided not to speak anymore, and over a period of time, his wife and daughters abandoned him because of this habit of his. And he lived alone in that house till he died. A silkworm disease called pebrine attacks the silkworms in Africa and India in the 1860. In 1862, the town of Lavilledieu buys bad eggs from this place and the town is financially hurt because of it. So Baldebue observes that nearly all the eggs are bad, but he has an idea to solve the problem. If you look closely at these two chapters, you know that Joncourt is fairly wealthy because of the silk trade that he carries out, and he lives in relative luxury and therefore seems to be untouched by the experiences through his traveling. He does not narrate any exciting tales after his return from Africa. These chapters reveal the passively serene nature of Joncourt, though he is supposed to don the role of a savior of the town. He himself is not aware that he is the hero of the story. He is somebody, as he states, who likes to observe life rather than participate in it. So Joncourt's private and public lives are disparate, which later on explains his two romances also. The story of Jean Berberk also focuses on the dangers of silence and non-communication. Its effects can be seen in how the family is completely destroyed. Joncourt's own affair with the Japanese woman will be conducted completely in silence, also because he himself is a passive person and does not want to participate in life. And this silence and miscommunication and non communication will become problematic a number of times in the entire novel. If we look at all the 5 chapters together, these are some of the things that we can notice. The main themes that have been introduced in the novel is history, trade, romance, the idea of infidelity, adventure, and personal philosophies of people. The spatial setting of the novel is in a small town in France during the period of imperialism and heightened trade between Europe and the rest of Asia. The characters who are introduced in the first 5 chapters are Herve Joncourt, his wife Helen, his friend Baldebo, Joncourt's father, and the people of the town. Some of the techniques that have been used right in the beginning in these 5 chapters is the technique of foregrounding, that is giving hint to what is going to come up. Symbolism, the symbolism of silk and other symbolic ideas used. Paradox, and of course, terse writing. These are some of the things that we see clearly visible in the novel. Your next video will be on analysis of chapter 6 to 7.